working fine. That doesn't look good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That don't look good. Nope, that's just my Mac acting up again. Okay, never mind. We're good. Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright. How you guys doing today on this fine day? Today. We got something special. Wasn't able to stream over the weekend because I was trying to get my Mac fixed up, but we are here now today, and today is a day that I've been kind of looking forward to. So, I am a fan of watching competitive gameplay at like tournaments and stuff. I won't always tune in live, however, I'll take a peek every now and then at like VODs and stuff, just to see how things do. But you know, there's something I always thought. It's always a lot of the big name people that are always reoccurring. Why can't we see some stuff from like other people? You know, variety is the spice of life. And so, today, today, I have been provided some replay codes. These replay codes, the ones I have today, have been provided by another Twitch streamer by the name of Xandarin. So, shout outs to him. Do try and go follow him on Twitch. I don't know if he uses YouTube. I don't remember. But, yeah, Xandarin on Twitch. Thank you so much. We have some matches that we are going to commentate. We are treating this like an actual tournament event. We're playing it completely straight, entire way through. So, fair warning. I don't use the replayer too much. This will be really my first experience doing it, so it's gonna look a bit amateurish. However, we are going to... What? I have a favorite? Weird. So, let me type in the first code we have here. But yeah, things are gonna look a little bit weird. It's a little bit amateurish at the start, but we all got to start somewhere. So, why don't we start with the first code he sent us. Now, something to note. I asked him and a few other people for replay codes. Some of these might be ego VODs, some of these might be random games from like Bronze, some of them might actually be genuine games. So, we really could get anything here, and I have not pre-watched these. That is a big thing. I have not pre-watched these. So, we are going to head on in. I believe I typed in the code right. We have a competitive game right here. And without further ado, let's jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Fighting on Krakoa. Team A and Team B selecting their characters to start out with. Looks like a Penny on the other team. We got an Invis and a Deadpool main. We got a Neomore. White Fox on the enemy team is quite strong, especially if you play her well to dive. We're looking at bans right now. Blue team is going to be fighting for either a Cloak and Dagger or Groot ban, whereas the enemy team seems quite set on banning Elsa, Elsa being a pretty oppressive character once she gets rolling. Going in with the Groot and Elsa bans, moving into the next part. Looking at a Moon Knight Cloak and Dagger ban. Looks like both teams don't want to deal with Cloak and Dagger. Rat Slappa not looking to deal with Moon Knight though, which is a very fascinating pick. Don't know what rank this is. I didn't check. I didn't care to check, but we get the Moon Knight ban and the Cloak and Dagger ban, so it all works out in the end. Everyone's happy. Looking at a Gambit ban from the red team, followed up hopefully. Looks like another Gambit ban on the blue team as well. Both teams don't want to deal with Gambit, understandable. And it looks like we're going to start heading into the games here. Looking at a tank Deadpool. Looking like Penny is the tank on the other team. Looking at triple DPS for Team A. Never mind, it looks like Namor has switched over to Doctor Strange. So we're looking at a Doctor Strange Deadpool with a Phoenix, Wolverine, Invis on the blue team, as well as looks like pretty solid comp on the other team as well, a Penny Doctor Strange. Quite interesting dive comp. Don't know if it would support dive or not, but it might be possible to work. Why don't we can dial through some of these characters right here. Everyone's getting ready to go into the first round. It's going to be the capture map Krakoa. Both teams are going to be looking for point control. Penny is going to be pretty good at helping that Rat Slappa, switching over to the Rocket now that the person who did not pick finally picked Magic. Going to be looking at... Looks like Deadpool is at the point first, and will we see any conflict immediately? It looks like they're setting up a portal play right here. Doctor Strange going into blue team's high ground. Looks like red team got a little bit ambushed, however they're dealing with it quite well, it looks like. Red team currently getting pushed back. There are a couple teammates down. Their DPSs are out. The Penny and the Doctor Strange are trying to hold the line. However, it looks like they are just not able to hold it as the White Fox and the Penny goes down, as well as the Invis and Doctor Strange. Blue team are going to be securing that point, holding that position, waiting for the point to change. They are confident they can hold this. Deadpool seeing the enemy team coming in. Penny taking the lead, stunning the Deadpool. Deadpool throwing down the plushie to hold back. Penny continuing to open fire team trying to press. She's not set up much right now. The Doctor Strange moving back in. Penny setting up her Penny Nest. Doctor Strange taking note of the Spider-Man on the side there. Deadpool going in right now with the swords. Pushing the enemy team back. The Invis is down, as well as the White Fox. Both supports have been dealt with immediately. Deadpool trying to back up, as well as Rat Slappa getting abused by the Black Panther, who is trying to make a play. Black Panther getting that health pack, trying to run off, however getting caught by the Phoenix. Spider-Man over here getting shot up. Currently unable to make any plays as the blue team is very tied together. Spider-Man running back, whereas the supports are trying to do what they can to keep him alive. Doctor Strange continuing to keep pressure on the enemy team. Spider-Man tries to go in for a play, however, the Namor has them locked and takes them out. Blue team not letting go of this position right here. Magneto coming in, trying to break in. However, the Eye of Agamotto comes in, breaking their cohesion. The Invis ult goes up. Rocket responds with his own ult, helping out his team. Invis ult down. Blue team trying to push this advantage, keeping the enemy team out. They are just not able to cause any damage here. Deadpool looks like he's about to go down, but does it even matter? Invis ult goes up to secure the point even more as we go into overtime. Doctor Strange, maintaining his advantage, takes out the White Fox thanks to the help of the Phoenix and the Namor. And that is round 1 completed. Blue team taking the Grove, getting ready for the next round. Chat. Looking at the scores here, looks like the Phoenix is doing quite a bit of work. Penny not really doing a lot of damage here as she's not really able to set much up in this regard. White Fox has not been able to heal too much here. Looks like the Magneto is swapping to Venom.
Yeah, so do I, and it kinda sucks.
They believe that the full dive strategy will be able to get them through this, but with a Namor, it's going to be hard, especially if they cluster up together, which will make Phoenix's day. We start to go in. Let's see how Red Team tries to respond to this aggression from the Blue Team. Venom going to take a side route up here, looking to get some sort of ambush position. However, it looks like he's going in now. Going after the supports right now. Invis gets ambushed. However, she responds quite well. Venom is getting pushed back. Doesn't look like he's able to get anything there as Red Team tries to follow up. However, Spider-Man goes down. Black Panther looks like he's soon to follow. White Fox comes up to try and heal. However, Namor takes out the Black Panther quite quickly. Namor continuing to hold down the point. It is Spider time. Penny trying to make something happen. However, with White Fox now dead, can it even matter? Spider-Man goes down as well. Their offense is breaking apart. Invis goes down soon. It does look like the Penny got the Deadpool. However, the Doctor Strange got the Penny in turn. In comes the Black Panther, trying to make a play happen. However, it looks like that against such an oppressive defense, they just aren't able to get what they want. Red Team now backed up into a corner up here. Doctor Strange and now Namor coming up to assess the position. Enemy team does not look like they are doing well as they start getting mowed down by such an oppressive force from the blue team as Doctor Strange continues to go forward, heading up to their spawn, yet getting pulled by the Spider-Man, is able to come back into safety. Eye of Agamotto in both Venom and Spider-Man continuing to fall back, whereas his team tries to support him. The Deadpool taking a little bit of damage here. The Invis tries to ult to make something work, however, Rocket Raccoon responds with an ult of his own, and in comes the Venom ult, attempting to make something work, but it just doesn't. Not even an anti-heal goes off as Phoenix comes in, killing the White Fox. However, it looks like Spider-Man is trying to make something happen. Deadpool continuing to fight against this Magneto, using the camera to have a bit of a break. We all need a little bit of a break every now and then. Deadpool continuing to shred Magneto. He does not know that melee goes through shields. That Magneto goes down as looks like the enemy team is trying to get in, trying to make something happen. Spider-Man looking for something that would have been a big ult if he had it, however, he just did not. Now the enemy team knows he might be looking for it. Going after the rocket, takes him out, but is it enough? It does not look it as he goes down. Magneto trying to go in, trying to make something happen. Red team is desperate. They're in overtime. They need to do something. The White Fox ult going in to try and create their own space, trying to help out their team however they can. However, Namor, the warden of this point, will not let them have it. He is continuing to hold this line. As of currently, Magneto has been forced off point. Invis now gone. It does not look like they are able to make much happen. Spider-Man tries and fails. Black Panther's the last hope. Can he make it? And he does not. And that is a victory for the blue team. Ladies and gentlemen, what a sweep that was. As for who gets MVP at the end of that, the Namor does. Final stats here, the Venom was taking quite a bit of damage there. He was trying as much as he could. The Penny swapped to Magneto, attempting to make something happen. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough. Spider-Man and Black Panther were determined. However, determination can only get you so far. Invis and White Fox trying to do what they can given the situation. However, without much pressure on the enemy team, despite their DPS's best efforts, there was only so much they could do. Meanwhile, on the enemy team, great work from the Doctor Strange as well as the Namor. The Deadpool was also doing quite well. Phoenix also getting quite a few impressive hits on top of it. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great first game to ease us into this, as well as an outstanding opener for the stream. So, let's exit this replay. Great first submission. Really fun to see. Let's take a look at another one right after I get a bit of coffee, because believe it or not, doing that is quite draining. All right. Chat, how are we feeling about that first game? Personally, I think it was quite good. Let's get typing in this next one now. All right, next one. This was sent to me captioned "The Legendary Lord of Poop." Nicey. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, join us today at the Hall of Djala. Today, blue team and red team coming in to clash and see who takes home the win today. We got a animated Lord Magneto and Rocket on the enemy team, with an Invis Lord animated on the blue team. Red team going for a Groot ban, blue team going for a Cloak ban. However, red team's trying to debate between a Groot or Phoenix ban, both of which are understandable. Groot can be quite oppressive with his damage that he can deal. Phoenix also being one of the better DPSs in the game. Looks like Groot and Cloak are the first ones out. Not bad decisions, not bad decisions. Now we're looking for either a Phoenix or a Gambit ban, whereas the blue team is looking for a Hela ban. As for right now, it looks like we are going to be getting a Hela and Phoenix ban, which is quite interesting, as that does limit Namor's damage just a little bit. However, enemy team, now they don't know what they want to ban. We're looking at an Invis ban, a Gambit ban, and an Elsa ban, whereas blue team is content with just an Elsa ban. Red team looks like it wants a Gambit ban just a little bit more, since Gambit is a very oppressive strategist to go against. However, it looks like Invis Woman gets the ban. That does deal with quite a powerful opponent on the enemy team. However, I'm sure that they'll be able to make it work. Looking at the team comps right now, we're looking at a Luna White Fox with a Spidey Namor, being protected by Thor and Magneto, whereas the enemy team is looking at Jeff and Rocket, tanking as Magneto with the DPSs of Psylocke and Winter Soldier. Now, Winter Soldier, if he knows what he's doing, he could grab that Spider-Man and send him packing. Psylocke could also...
Get ready.
I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Psylocke's place in the current meta of the game in competitive. Maybe we'll be able to see just how strong or how weak she is in this very game. As of right now, blue team is currently trying to set up a defensive line, set up some sort of perimeter. Namor taking point, probably going to place his squids up top just to get a little bit of damage at the start. Magneto coming to join him. Looks like they're going to be trying to set up at the bottom here. Looks like Spidey tried to do some weird play at the start there, however wasn't able to, as now the fighting has begun. White Fox trying to keep the team alive as we look to the front lines, as both Magnetos are currently clashing against each other. Looks like the person that did not select decided to go with Thor, so it's a tank mirror match right now based on which tank will be the better one. Spider-Man going around trying to make some play happen, however falling right back into their base. Good job, Spidey. Luna's starting to take a little bit of damage, trying to get some damage in, however not really getting any lands. As the Thor goes down to the other Thor, Magneto's starting to get kidnapped, however he's using that as momentum to go after their Rocket and apply pressure to him. Spidey trying to come in and support, however backing off. Looks like Namor is trying to get a little bit of damage into assist as well. Focusing down the Thor to get him off the Magneto, because remember, melee attacks go through shields. As coming around the side, look at that, it looks like Psylocke tried to make a play, however, she went down as it looks like the Winter Soldier switched to Namor. We might have a Namor battle here, ladies and gentlemen, as the enemy Namor gets annoyed by the Spider-Man, however, isn't really able to make anything work, as it looks like the Jeff goes down to the Thor, as Thor must have gone around and flanked. I didn't even notice that. As Thor is waiting up near their spawn, it looks like he's going to try and ambush them whenever they get the chance. Spidey looking like he's going to ambush as well. He sees the Jeff and he goes for him. However, he's not able to really connect anything. He's kind of fumbling right now. It doesn't look like he's able to get a pick. However, it looks like the Rocket ult will go off. This might be the momentum that red team needs to go in. Oh my god, every ult going off at once. Magneto ult goes off, doesn't get a kill, as the Luna ult goes off, as blue team tries to regain some lost tempo from the Rocket ult, as it looks like the enemy team is going down, falling apart, as they are able to hold that ground quite nicely. They still have the Spider-Man ult, however the Namor ult could be quite oppressive, as the enemy team switches to Gambit. However, it looks like Magneto decided instead to not go for his ult, but instead switch to Punisher. We will see how that plays out for them as the Spider-Man goes in, tries to deal some big damage. However, he is punished immediately for it. However, it looks like the Thor went in to try and back him up. However, they went way too deep as they get torn up by the team. Red team now trying to take an advantage from this as Psylocke goes in with the ult, trying to deal some big damage. They all cluster together to minimize the damage she can do to them individually. Emma ult goes down, dealing with the Namor as Magneto falls, and the point is contested. Thor tries to make something work but isn't able to as Spider-Man tries to escape. Is he able to? Just barely, it looks like, as the point is lost. However, the battle is not
You need to
over.
stop that vehicle in its tracks.
Magneto switching over to Angela for this point, whereas Blue Team is currently trying to reposition, trying to find a better place to hold Spider-Man, continuing to harass the enemy team wherever he can. White Fox trying to provide as much support as she can with her charms as we look over to Angela. Angela taking a lot of damage, hiding up in the tower by that alleyway. Tries to get a pick, however the Emma knew it was coming as Thor is going in, trying to make damage for the backline. However, their Namor was prepared as the Angela continues to get pestered. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they are going to be able to set up a defense as the Spider-Man goes down to the Psylocke. However, Luna Snow manages to take out the Emma Frost. The Gambit ult goes off, as well as the Punisher ult. That could be quite devastating as Punisher takes out the Namor, takes out the White Fox, and takes out the Luna Snow. Going after the Angela. Is he able to take her out? Doesn't look like it. However, will it matter as the Thor tries to make a play, isn't able to. Spider-Man runs off again. He is a menace. He continues to harass but will not go down. Angela goes down trying to fight. Luna ults to try and help her team try and claw this back. Spider-Man finally goes down. The Luna ult is done. However, the White Fox ult comes in to support. They are continuing to try and fight them back. Psylocke goes down. Punisher went down earlier but got revived. Magneto trying to hold the point, however, getting knocked off by Emma Frost. Emma Frost trying to harass Magneto now because, as we all know, melee goes through shields. However, Emma is taking a bit more damage than she can handle. However, in comes the Emma ult. However, Magneto does have the barrier prepared for that as she is shut down. Namor starting to come in and clean things up as the enemy Namor goes down. It does look like they are able to secure this point. However, the Namor is then revived by the rocket beacon. Spider-Man is dead by the Psylocke. Rocket and the Namor go down again. Namor dealing with the Psylocke, however. A portal goes up for Red Team to try and get in. But it doesn't look like... Wait. We get the Psylocke ult. Red Team recaptures the point. Magneto trying to hold them off. Holding the line. He's not going down. He is unkillable.
This is real firepower!
Gambit and Rocket will go up.
Executioner!
Oh, but here comes the Luna ult. Here comes the Luna ult. They continue to hold. Both teams trying to gain some momentum in this never-ending battle. The Punisher goes down as the Angela tries to go in. Doctor Strange coming in to quickly reinforce, whereas the White Fox uses her ult to gain momentum, and that is the end of round 1. Holy fuck, my throat is dry.
Time to switch things up, including which side you're on. You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Quite a difficult battle there for both teams to fight. Simple mistakes at the start did lead to the collapse of blue team's defense. However, they were able to regain their momentum, which stopped the oppressive offense of red team. Now looking at red team, what are they going to do now for defense? Oh god. Red team looking like they're picking up Magneto, Rogue, as well as a Namor Gambit with Adam and Rocket as support. Gambit team up with Magneto and Rogue could be quite oppressive for the blue team to deal with. Spider-Man currently fighting his demons right now, then proceeding to rock out. Team starts as Thor finally decides to load in -1 ult charge, as Magneto is the first one to start trying and engage. They're going down the main lane here, as Magneto tries to find a break for the enemy team, as Namor immediately gets knocked into the air by Rogue. However, Rogue is unable to continue on her attack. Enemy Rogue obtaining Magneto's bubble. Is she going to be able to cause some damage here? She uses the Magneto bubble to get herself out, as it doesn't look like either team is really able to get a pick here, except for the enemy Namor, as the White Fox goes down, followed by the Namor. Looks like Thor might be the next one to go down, unless he can get that health pack, which he is not able to. White Fox runs, trying to run back in. However, Magneto decided he would rather take his own way. Looks like Luna is going to be waiting for the team to come back together, unless she's going to make a play herself, which would not suggest in this position. Looks like the blue team is coming back though. Thor trying to lead the charge as Hawkeye gets sniped by the Namor. Unfortunate for the guy with many arrows. Magneto getting drained by Rogue again. Rogue attempting to make a play against the White Fox. Can the White Fox fend this off? Looks like she is able to, as we switch over to the Namor, who has ult ready, causing a lot of damage as he tries to fire it off. However, it doesn't look like anything connects here, as Rogue activates her ult as she attempts to push them back as the blue team starts collapsing. White Fox just... No, that wasn't White Fox. That was Luna Snow freezing there, just letting her ult get drained away. As red team goes back to reinforce themselves, as now blue team is switching things up, as they now have a Gambit and Mantis. Mantis possibly being quite a sleeper pick here. Will her damage boost be able to get them through this? We have both tank ults and a Namor ult. Rocket ult goes down as the Luna ult activates, as unfortunately the Magneto bubble did not land on the Luna, causing her to die, as well as the Namor, followed by the Magneto and Mantis, as Thor escapes, or at least tries to. He's way behind enemy lines, as he's trying to get a way out. However, he's not able to, as blue team needs to regroup again, rethink their strategy, attempt to figure out how they're going to get in. They were able to force out the Rocket Raccoon ult, so it may be a good opening for them to maybe pop like a Namor ult, since they keep clustering together like that. Looks like the Magneto is trying to make a play here. However, the Rogue continues to be oppressive. However, it looks like the Rogue goes down. she gets revived. The God of Thunder comes in, taking out the Atom, dealing with the entire enemy team. Rocket and Mame were down. Atom revives himself, bringing back his teammates as Gambit never folds. Entire enemy team buffed up by the Gambit ult. Rogue just kind of chilling, doing nothing, as it looks like they were still lost point. Unfortunately, despite both support ults going off, they weren't able to regain point control, as now the blue team is trying to take this momentum and start running them down. Magneto and Thor taking the lead. Thor's trying to back up right now, as right now blue team just needs to get it to where the red team were able to, and they'll be able to hold off. Rogue trying to take everything from the blue team. Will they be able to take a win from this? Unable to get any picks there, unfortunately, as the heals from blue team are just too good right now. However, the Rocket ult does go down. It's being challenged by the Mantis ult, as unfortunately Magneto was not able to counter the enemy Magneto ult. The Namor goes down. Magneto constantly being drained by the Rogue. The Rogue trying to keep pushing forward. Now on the supports, trying to get them to go back, as it does seem like the Magneto on the blue team just does not go down. He continues to hold. In fact, he's actually going to push the advantage. He's going after the supports. Gambit down. Atom looking like he is next. Manages to push Atom way back. They gained way too much space for red team to deal with. And despite the Born Again by Atom, it's just too far and too late, as blue team takes the win of the Hall of Dejava. Ladies and gentlemen, another great game we've seen today. Cyndaquil taking the MVP. Great things to see here. Looking at the stat board, it does look like the Luna was doing quite well for herself. The Gambit, not a lot of healing, however, he did swap off DPS mid-game in the final round there. Can't fault him too much. The Mantis doing quite well for herself as well. Magneto constantly taking a beating the entire time. Holy. As does look like another great game here. Both teams played quite well, honestly. I don't know if they were ignoring the Magneto or if they were just, or if he was just that if he's just that good on him. Like, it does seem like there were a few blunders both teams made. However, it does seem like they were able to still produce a very entertaining game for us today. As let's close out this game. Let's get ready for the next one we were sent. Oh. I need to give myself a little bit of a minute there because holy. So, in case this is the first thing you're seeing of me, I do not talk often, believe it or not. Like, I'm not a big talker. And I decided to do this because I thought it was fun. And it is fun. But holy, my vocal cords are not that well cut out for it. Alright. Let us start looking at the next one. Let's do... Apologies, just responding to a text. Alright. Let's set up this next one, which has been captioned to me. He did, in fact, not sell our Elo. Fascinating. Okay, we got the match here. Let us start going right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, join us down at Shin Shibuya at Tokyo 2099 to see a legendary battle between Team A and Team B. Team A currently boasting a animated Lord Moon Knight Squirrel Girl with a Lord Hulk and Cloak and Dagger. Red team with Lords of Invis, Namor, Daredevil. Red team looking to ban Groot, whereas blue team is looking to ban Gambit. Quite standard bans. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. Moving on, looking at the second round of bans, looks like both teams are looking for an Elsa Bloodstone ban. Again, standard bans. However, both teams going for her does mean there's going to be more options for them both to take advantage of, as coming into the final rounds of bans here, looking like both teams might want to just deal with Phoenix. As it does look like there's still some oppressive individuals here.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Because right now, we're looking at blue team coming in with Squirrel Girl, who you don't see every day, Hulk, Invis, Moon Knight, Rogue, and Cloak and Dagger. Never mind, the Hulk is switching to fucking who knows. Doctor Strange. Red team is using Strategist Deadpool, Invis, Daredevil, Namor, Hela. Oh my god, they're going through a full roster shakeup right now. They're trying to get, they don't even have a team comp ready. Holy, they're still getting prepared. They've not even finished their draft.
30 seconds before you attack.
Currently looking
Get
like
ready.
they have a Luna, a Strategist Deadpool switching to Vanguard, whereas looks like the Hela swap to Captain America, looking to distribute some freedom. Deadpool then swapping.
Battle starts in
Deadpool
5,
doesn't know what he wants to do right now.
3,
Blue team is already set up
1.
at the point,
You have
getting
to
ready
stop
to
them from
hold
securing
them
the mission
off,
area.
as a portal immediately deals with the Elo seller. Very unfortunate that that will happen. Blue team's Moon Knight sees the enemy team and immediately starts trying to get some early damage in. It looks like the Namor had almost gone down to it, however he was able to get out of range in time. Now looking for revenge on that Moon Knight, but the Moon Knight gets away. Deadpool trying to create space for his team. Now it looks like the Doctor Strange is coming in to assist. However, it doesn't really look like he's able to get in too much. Black Panther trying to make something work, but he doesn't. Squirrel Girl trying to lay in some damage onto Red Team. Her AoE damage can be quite dangerous in the right hands. However, I do not know if this will be the right hands this game, unfortunately, as no picks were dealt there except for against the Namor. It looks like the Deadpool is trying to go in and make something happen. However, he is shut down by the Squirrel Girl. The Squirrel Girl actually making some sort of play here. The Moon haunts the point, cleaning things up, as it looks like the blue team's Deadpool is trying to chase after. Who was that? Was that the Daredevil? It looks like the Daredevil was unable to get out, as Red Team is currently trying to break into this point here by any means they can. Doctor Strange, not really too in range, however, he does manage to take out the enemy Strange. The Squirrel Stampede coming in, dealing with... Oh my god, this Squirrel Girl is actually doing a lot here for this team. There might be something to this character. They seemed unassuming at the start. However, they are starting to seem like they are going to be running the lobby for blue team, as Red Team tries to come in, trying to make something happen here. Deadpool trying to focus on the people out in the hallway over here. Shields go up to support the team, as the Vishanti's power comes in, but it doesn't look like too much was affected. However, that Eye of Agamotto is big, as blue team starts shredding the red team, as it looks like this is a very difficult one for them to deal with. Luna freezes her pursuer, as it looks like blue team is trying to chase after them. They're getting greedy. They are trying... Oh, it looks like they're backing back up to the point, as they are going to be holding position here again, as Deadpool goes down to the Moon Knight. Moon Knight continuing to fire forward into the enemy team, looking at Squirrel Girl as her friends are here. However, Luna's ready to put up a show for the devil as the Moon comes to challenge them, as it looks like the Moon deals with blue team, shredding their entire defense in a matter of moments. Blue team does not look like they'll be able to head there in time, even with a Spider-Man chasing after them. So, looks like Red Team is going to have to push through the streets, whereas Blue Team is going to have to find a way to defend against it. That initial point is quite easy for the defending team to deal with. However, past that point, it does start to get a little bit difficult, as it looks like the enemy Doctor Strange is starting to push in a bit more, trying to apply pressure towards the enemy team. Let's look towards the enemy Moon Knight right now. He's got an angle with one of his Augs, taking a look at the Master Weaver. He's not going to help you here, bud. You're going to have to do this on your own. Squirrel Girl trying to get some damage in, trying to build up her ult, as it's shown that she can be quite impressive with it, as it looks like she gets a hit on the Luna, as Moon Knight deals with the Daredevil. Up goes the Invis ult, trying to keep their momentum, as in comes Deadpool. He's fucking going in. However, he is then taken out by the enemy team. His momentum cut short, as it looks like Doctor Strange trying to maintain his position, as holy, that Deadpool just got melted. Oh my god. Yes. Moon Knight's trying to fall back. Their tanks are down. Enemy Moon Knight trying to capitalize on this position. Squirrel was able to take out the Luna, but it doesn't really matter.
Only 60 seconds left.
as without a front line like the one coming in now, will it even make a difference? We got a Penny coming in to try and help and defend. However, she's having a hard time against a Lord Black Panther. The Eye of Agamotto comes down. However, shields are up, able to save Blue Team from what could have been a tragedy. Squirrel Girl coming in, continuing to try and lay down the law with her friends. However, Deadpool is not a big fan of these rodents. Cloak and Dagger ult goes down, and the Luna ult comes up to challenge. Moon Knight ults go down as well. Absolute pandemonium in the streets of Shin Shibuya as Deadpool finally goes down. However, a lot of damage has been done to Blue Team's position, and despite the damage they may deal here, it does not look like they are able to hold Blue Team. Now having to get to the final point to secure it. Will they be able to pull off an upset here? Looking at the score, it looks like both teams are currently fighting their hearts out right now as Deadpool is up quite close as he's making a play here. He's going after them. Enemy team looks like they're trying to do a big shakeup here. Enemy team Squirrel Girl switching to Namor. Let's take a look at this Namor. He looks a little bit lost, honestly, or is he right where he wants to be? Deadpool is where he wants to be, and that is the enemy team's back line. However, they seem a little bit prepared. However, the Cloak and Dagger looking like she's running out of abilities. However, Deadpool loses her, yet that does not dissuade him as he continues his rampage against the enemy's backline as they begin crumbling under the pressure as Red Team now has a direct path in as Moon Knight tries to make something happen, tries to get some damage in, looking to get a Moon in there as he's able to. However, the enemy Moon Knight also moons their spawn, so they're not able to capitalize on it. Both Cloak and Dagger and Penny ults are going off as the Eye of Agamotto stuns them both, damaging their momentum on the defense. However, it does look like they are able to start holding them back as Red Team's damage is starting to show. The cracks are forming as it looks like Thing deals with Black Panther, that oppression they've been dealing with all game, as they're able to hold the point. However, Red Team have gained a lot of ground in the conflict. It is going to be a difficult battle to surpass it. Ladies and gentlemen, join us in round 2 as the teams prepare for what could possibly be the final round of this match. Both teams trying to figure out what could best work here, as it looks like Blue Team is settling on a triple tank strategy, hoping that the sheer mass of these fellows will be able to push them through.
30 seconds before you attack.
Meanwhile, looks like Red Team is setting up a more defensive playstyle, using a character like Penny to try and initialize their initial defense. Penny setting up a few mines at spawn, hoping to get an early pick, unaware that there is team beef on the other side. Looks like Dr. Strange is not a big fan of the Japanese architecture here. Moon Knight taking position up to where the moon is closest, as Penny is able to get some picks on the Moon Knight and Rocket. You just know they're mouthing about that in team chat, whereas Dr. Strange continuing to hold that forward position, not looking to give it up so easily. However, in comes the blue team, looking to make something happen. Blue team continuing to push forward. Moon Knight gets a pick on the Penny, however, the Hawkeye gets a pick on the Rocket, something a bit more devastating as I don't think Invis has the healing capacity to keep all of these tanks alive on her own, especially when she's getting picked at by the Hawkeye. Hawkeye, however, now shifting his focus to some of the tanks, however, getting shredded by the Moon Knight. Red team's Moon Knight trying to reposition, trying to get a better vantage point, however, goes back in. Blue team's Moon Knight using his ult on the point, trying to secure it for the team, as blue team's offense does seem to be overwhelming red team's defense, as it looks like they're able to keep them out of the point, it seems. Eye of Agamotto goes down, however, blue team's Doctor Strange seems to be the true Sorcerer Supreme, as it looks like Luna's coming in to try and maintain the defense, as another Eye of Agamotto goes down on the enemy team's Invis, as red team's Moon Knight ult goes in. Penny coming in to support the Doctor Strange, however the Magneto ult happens. Doesn't get anyone with it, however it's enough to cause enough damage to the defensive line, forcing red team to fall back. Punisher attempting to cover for Penny's retreat, however she's taking a lot of damage, but it does look like she'll get out. However, Moon Knight's not letting them get out so easily, continuing to be a bit of a pressure menace right now to the enemy team. It's Spider time though, and this Penny is looking to halt them in their tracks. However, going too far forward, she does end up going down. Doctor Strange on the blue team is trying to go in, trying to keep this payload moving, as blue team's Moon Knight continues to be oppressive to the enemy team, as a Venom now charges in, trying to follow up on this momentum while continuing to apply pressure to the red team, keeping them from setting up. In comes the, oh my god, the biggest Eye of Agamotto and Punisher combo. Blue team trying to use the Rocket Raccoon to try and fend off against it. However, magic bullets are too strong for it to handle. Red team now having fully secured their defense again. This is the momentum they needed. They just need to hold out for 3 more minutes. But can they do it? Can I do that? My voice is giving out as we speak. However, what's not giving out is both teams' determination to take this home. Both Doctor Stranges exchanging blows in the middle. However, red team's Doctor Strange goes down. Moon Knight firing off the ult the second he gets it, going down to the enemy Strange. Invis setting up her shields on top of the point, trying to force them back. Deadpool gaining the momentum from this, continuing to force his way forward. As it looks like blue team, they're struggling to get in. They're having a hard time. Venom looking for an angle of attack. Punisher went low, however he got healed up to full. However, the Venom, in he comes. Unfortunately, too much pressure for him to deal with on his own, as Vishanti's power stuns everyone there. However, Doctor Strange goes down, but so does the Luna Snow. Is that a worthwhile trade? Let us see. Red team's Doctor Strange is trying to hold the line, however the Punisher does go down. Is this Moon Knight going to be able to deal with this incoming Venom attrition? It looks like the Venom has been forced back for now. However, it seems as if Blue Team has gained more momentum. However, in comes the Luna ult, damage boosting, and trying to assist. Rocket ult coming to challenge them, and the Moon comes in to continue to break. However, it looks like the combination of magic bullets coming in again, trying to make something happen. However, it just isn't showing the picks as before. However, we are able to take out the Invis as well as, I believe it was the Strange that went down earlier, as Red Team starts to clean up against the attrition. Ladies and gentlemen, holy.
Down to 30 seconds.
Seems like right now the fighting is picking up again. Only 30 seconds left. Blue Team, they have to make something happen. They have to get to that checkpoint and buy themselves more time. Dr. Strange trying to go in, trying to force them back. Deadpool trying to gain momentum. Venom using his ult on the backline. However, he's not able to get anyone. The enemy team, Blue Team and Red Team, both putting up outstanding plays. The Moon coming in, trying to break Red Team's grip on this point. However, it's looking quite difficult. However, the Moon Knight sees a big opening. However, the Red Team Moon Knight takes them out. He's revived by the rocket teleporter. He's coming back in, trying to make something happen. However, shields go up. The Rashanti's power activates both of them, firing off. However, it looks like Red Team is actually causing more damage. The grand finale initiates as Doctor Strange continues to just clean up this side, as that is a pentakill for the Strange and a Hexa to close us out. Ladies and gentlemen, your victors, Red Team at Shin Shibuya. That car is not going anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, another outstanding game as Elo Seller is the MVP of this one. An ironic name, to be sure, but hey, maybe it's meant to be selling the enemy team's Elo. Him having the most damage taken, and it's not even close. Looking at the stats here, both teams played quite well, doing the best they could for what they had. Outstanding work from all of them. How in the world do you get 0 accuracy, yet still so much damage? Both teams putting up an outstanding performance. Moon Knight on the blue team definitely getting a lot of damage done, had a lot of opportunities to do so. However, it was the more synergistic work of a Red Team that was able to push them through. Remember, this is a team game, and one player, unfortunately, cannot carry the whole squad. That said, another outstanding game for us today. And I do believe that for now, I am going to call it there, as one, my voice is falling apart, my throat too dry. That said, this was very fun to do. Hope the matches were entertaining. Hope you guys had a great time watching. Apologies the stream is so short. I will try and make the next one longer. However, I have human limitations, as I don't know if you guys know this, but this is actually very hard to do 8 games in a row for me. I was kind of falling apart by the end there. So we'll definitely be back with more. I might do this again tomorrow because I still have quite a few codes to get through. That said, that is going to be all from me today. So, don't know what we're gonna do tomorrow, but I do know we're gonna do it. As always, my manager, you've been amazing to have. Thank you so much for stopping by. And I will see you guys next time. Sayonara, everyone.